welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And welcome also to our lovely speaker, Petra, who is going to talk about how to position yourself as an expert through personal brand building. As you know, this is part of the Career Leap, a 6-week journey with L&D Shakers to help you get unstuck, build momentum, and explore your next steps with more clarity and community. We are approaching the end of the program, but you might be familiar that there were 3 tracks available. Leap into learning and development for people looking to move into L&D, leap into L&D leadership for new or growing leaders seeking guidance, and finally, leap into L&D entrepreneurship if you're ready to freelance, consult, or build your own thing. And this session is targeted to all of the tracks because this is so valuable for everyone in their journey. So Petra will untangle the mystery behind powerful personal brands and build credibility, position you as an expert, and strengthen your influence. Petra is a certified personal branding and digital strategist. She's a speaker, a coach, and consultant. She is founder of impaCCCt and the 360talent.co. Both companies are designed to future-proof individuals and organizations through coaching, training, and keynotes that make long-lasting change. So Petra, thank you so much for being here, sharing with us your time, your expertise. And please, let's get started.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Welcome everyone who can join us live. And for those who are watching the replay, welcome to you. If you are especially working with us live, I would love for you to grab a piece of paper or a notepad where we can draw and get some actions happening, because my goal is for this session to walk away with at least one takeout, and I'll ask you for that. So take note of that, and one action that you want to take. In the end, if we only get information and consume information but don't take action, it's a waste of time. And you as learning and development professionals know that better than anyone. Before we get into the meat and potato of it, I would love to know, how focused are you going to be for this session on a scale of 1 to 7? Put it in the chat. 7 being, I'm all here. 1 is, I'm kind of watching Netflix. And depending on how the session goes, I might switch. We've got 7. Beautiful. And I also want you to then adjust your environment. If we say 7, 6, make sure the phones are off, because in a second we are getting distracted with social media. We are off. And as I said, I want you to really use this opportunity to invest in your personal and professional growth and development. We are going through quite a bit. So I put together a little website for you with all the show notes, what I call it, and where we can also then put the recording, which will be also shared on your YouTube channel. Pamela will also have to facilitate. So if you've got questions and I can't run into the chat straight away, we will address that. So we are very live, very interactive, and very personalized to yourself. I'd like to say 7, but I've got a short attention span. The senses. I'll try to capture it. So we are good to go. Okay, now let me share my screen with you. And we are going to get this session started. As I said, if you don't have a notepad or a piece of paper with you just yet, make sure you grab one. But before we get into that, I would love to ask you a question. Has anyone been in the situation where you literally designed the whole thing? You made an incredible workshop or a retreat and you didn't get the recognition for it? And or you are more qualified than others, and yet you are seeing people getting promoted. If anyone has been in this situation, I have, which is what led me into my current profession. So I always say I'm onto my 3.5 career. I've probably got another 4 in me, but my background is brand and product marketing. And 12 years ago, I was in a very senior role. Actually, it was 14 years when I got promoted into it. And what happened was I got to this role because I could outwork everyone. I'm from Austria, and as the Europeans know, we outwork pretty much everyone. It's kind of in our DNA. Anyway, it was Friday morning and my manager called me into her office, and I thought, naive as I was, it must be time for my next promotion. And she put me on a performance improvement plan. And I did not see that coming. And let's just say it bruised my ego, not a little, but a lot. So I got out of the industry and into recruitment. What also happened in this conversation was that she said, we can see that you're working. You're busy, like you're the first one in, the last one out. You're taking on all the roles and responsibilities. However, in your role, you are managing 18 boards at that stage. You need to influence. You need to be able to shape decisions, and you are not at that level. And this was the first time when I actually got that feedback. Until then, I just could put my head down, work, and get promoted. And especially early on in the career, it works quite well until it doesn't. So my biggest asset has become my biggest baggage, simply because I couldn't articulate my value. I wasn't positioned in a way that I needed to be in order to progress and be also seen as influential. In the recruitment space, because I was kind of thrown into the tech space, I never had any exposure to tech before. I literally asked people, so what does SEO stand for? That was my kind of recruitment experience. I did not know a thing. And what I realized was, so working with incredibly smart technical professionals, they also missed out on opportunities. They also didn't get the promotion. And this is when I saw that often extremely smart people are not getting recognized for their intelligence, for their contribution, because they are not able to articulate in a way that resonates with their decision makers. And over the last 12 years, I've worked in that field. And what I've come to realize is this particular big differentiation. There is a difference between expert and authority. And given we are 3 minutes into the session, I thought it's time to change the session title to how can you position yourself as the authority in your space. Now, why is this important? Because an expert knows a lot, but, and this is a big but, an authority is known for what they know. And especially now in the world of AI, where a lot of knowledge can be outsourced and or ChatGPT, we need to be known for more than just the credentials and how many years of experience we've got. So I wrote a book about that. It's quite a Bible. 76,000 words later, it literally is the roadmap of how to become the trusted authority, the go-to in your industry, and go from unknown to known. And this is also what I want to share with you, what this progress actually looks like. In a second, I want you to use the annotation tool, and I want you to position yourself in which category, in which quadrant you are. I would say nobody is in this space. This is, to be honest, where influencers are. They've got a lot of exposure. There is a lot of followers. However, they don't have influence and usually don't have much capabilities or credibility behind them. We also heard about the influencer with millions of followers who could not sell 26 t-shirts to make this minimum run. And this means that, yes, I'm following just because I want to be entertained, but I don't necessarily feel that I want to give you my money. And any kind of decisions, whether it's money related or I give you a project or a responsibility, has to do with credibility. So nobody will be in this category. Where a lot of people are playing in the beginning is here. We are building our expertise up and nobody knows that we exist. Then eventually we get into the category of the expert. We get a little bit more exposure to projects, we get more responsibilities, and we definitely build our expertise. We get more credentials, we've got more years of experience, we get another micro credential. And this is exactly where most people get stuck. The difference between knowing a lot and moving over here where we want to be is simply the exposure and the visibility. So with that said, where would everyone put themselves if we could get the annotation tool going to see where we are currently sitting? If you're early on in your career, you may be playing in this field. Maybe you're already a little bit higher up here. Where is everyone sitting? Does everyone know how to use the annotation tool? Nope. On your left corner, we see a little pencil, a green pencil, and it says annotate. If you click that, you should be able to draw on my screen. Nope, not happening. That's okay. What we're going to do is, I cannot find it. That's okay. We are putting numbers in. I want you to put it in the chat. Where are we right now? A, B, C, or D? We are between C and B. B, unfortunately. C, B, C. Beautiful. And there is no right or wrong. This is really, really important. What we need to know is where do we start? Because that means we can take actions to take it into the next category. And certainly the expertise should not be focused on, but it should not be the only aspect. It's the foundation, and then we build on top of it. Maybe you've heard the word skill stacking. This is exactly what we do. Instead of having just a T-shaped skill set, which probably everyone has heard, where we've got a deep specialization, we actually build on top of it. We build to increase our own capabilities, but also our value in the market. If anyone is in this category to say, oh, I just want to put my head down, I just want to design my workshops, I'm really bad at promoting myself. Do we have anyone here who is like, that would be me? Heads are going up straight away. Don't you worry. I've been exactly in that position, which got me to being put on a performance improvement plan. And this is also when I did a little bit more digging. Has anyone come across Harvey Coleman before? Harvey Coleman? Look this person up because it's a fascinating research. What he came to realize when he researched what does it actually take to be successful, he found out that there are 3 components to it. And this is what's called the pie chart. Because only 10% comes down to how good you are at what you're doing, your performance. Whether you're successful or not comes down to 10% to your performance, 10%, 10. Then 30%, which is the I, is image, meaning what's the perception of you? Do we feel we can trust you with this project? Do we feel you're ready for it? Do we feel you're expensive or cheap? In that kind of sense. Brands are all about emotional connections. How do we perceive somebody? This is the image. I know, let's say 10%. And now the whopping 60% is contributed to exposure, meaning how visible are we with the right people? And today we're not going to be talking about how can we go viral, because it's not the point. It's how can we be visible to this one person who is a decision maker, or to this one department head who could make things happen, or to this one leader who we want to run a retreat or workshop for. It's about knowing who do we need to know, and more importantly, who needs to know of us for the right reasons to get ahead. So being the best at what we do doesn't necessarily mean we get ahead. And yes, Pamela, I'm also surprised. Everyone was surprised. Like when I saw this research for the first time, I thought, well, they're probably equal. Could not be any false, more false. 10%, meaning if we get another degree, another 2 years experience, we are just developing our capabilities. But if nobody knows about it, does it even matter? It's similar to if a tree falls and nobody's in the forest, has it even happened? And this is what we are going to change. In the end, if you want to stand out, you need to stand for something. And this is where we start. We are digging deep. And now I want you to grab the piece of paper, if you've got it, and I'll draw it in a second for those who are virtually working with us. Fold it in half and fold it in half again. So basically folding it twice. So we've got 4 little quadrants. So what are we doing? We have 4 quadrants. And then at the top, actually I'll do it this way, I also want you to fold it halfway through. Now in the next 45 or so minutes, we are going to complete all of those quadrants. What we are going to start with is your overarching belief. I want to have you think for a second, what is it that you believe about learning or about development or about people performance? What do you stand for and what not? And these are prompts that we can get started with. I believe learning is, and it's not. People perform better when the future of learning, especially now in the age of AI, is blah. Lisanne says, a personal experience this recently. I was very busy with my organization and my expertise was trusted. When we went through a merger, leadership changed and I wasn't visible to the right people anymore and had to fight for my spot. And it happens all the time and more frequently than not. Unfortunately, we can't control if we get a new manager, if we get a new stakeholder, if we get budgets or not. But we can control how we want to be positioned and perceived in front of the right people. Is that being the glue? That could be something like that. What is it that you believe about learning? Do you say learning should be fun? Should it be a collaborative process? Should it be experimental? Should it be not boring? Should it be hands-on? Should it result into tangible outcomes? Like, what is your philosophy about learning? Because in the end, this is what nobody can take away from you. This is where personal branding, true personal branding starts. What do I stand for? Because based on that, I can stand out. Think about the strongest brands in the market. And yes, I have to mention him, Donald Trump. Strong brand. It doesn't matter if you like him or not. In fact, strong brands are loved and hated. They're not liked. Vanilla, people love it and people hate it. There's no in between. Same with the brand. We want to stand for something. So if we can get a little bit our brains together, what do we believe in the learning space as such? And for those who are working along in the offline space, this is what comes on top of it, your belief. What is it that you believe about learning, especially now in 2025? What have you seen worked? What have you experienced? What kind of feedback have you gotten from your participants when it comes to designing workshops or leadership programs or whatever it might be? And don't worry about having it correct, because there is no such thing. Beliefs can shift depending on what kind of information we are getting. Nobody would have thought that we can have robots and bots doing our job. And now it's normal. So what is it that you believe? And for anyone who would be happy to share one or two in the chat, please feel free to do so, also to spark some other ideas. Or you can unmute yourself, obviously, because we are live. Have you got any volunteers who would love to share? I believe learning is doing and failing, not sitting back. Beautiful. Luxury experienced. Oh, there are the chats coming through. Essential, not optional. Love it. Future of learning is innovation. Not sitting back, amazing. Luxury experience by curious minds. Not event. 100%. Beautiful. Incredible start. And this is what I want you to keep in mind as we work through the next few exercises. Tied to the job. Yes, absolutely. Continuous and sustain with dialogue. Yep, absolutely. So you already stand for something. Now I want to see, if I had to shadow you for a day, how would I see that this is what you believe in? Is it that, I don't want to put any words actually in your mouth. How would we see that your beliefs are lived out loud? How do you bring your views of your profession to life that other people can experience that? It could be visual, it could be verbally, it could be kinesthetically. How do I know that it's science-based? How do I know that as a participant? How do I know if this program that you're developing for me is for my job that I'm currently doing, not just a one-size-fits-all? What if it's not shown? That's an interesting comment. What if it's felt? Not everything from a branding perspective needs to be shown or visible, but yet we have got this emotional connection to it. And it will be felt in one or another way. How do you currently demonstrate what's important to you and what you believe in? Because often this is already the first little change that we can make. If nobody knows that we're all about evidence-based, then we need to provide some more graphs, charts, and always referencing the research for it. That could be one way, or I could bring in guest speakers from universities. What is a sign that you live your belief out loud? That others can actually say, I 100% agree with that, I stand for it too, or not for me. I'm trying to build my network in a company and connect the dots, make people think differently. Beautiful. So being collaborative. Are you asking participants prior to the session, what is the one takeaway that you want to get out of this session? That would be collaborative. Or are you bringing some SMEs in to curate this experience? That would be co-design. There are different ways how we can actually approach our beliefs. But often people say, oh, we'll figure it out on the go. And this is often nowadays when we've got such low trust in everything and everyone, probably the worst answer to say. Having something more visual, more transparent, how we do what we do, and also being able to deliver this result that we actually want to be known for, this is the crux. I believe learning should be social, and I lead by example. I share thoughts, ask questions, connect with others to learn. Beautiful. This is exactly what's already the starting point. What can you do in terms of actions and do more of that? Discovery calls with clients, trying to manage requests for training and guide them towards performance support. Beautiful. This is also a question, is there enough thought leadership out there or quizzes or assessments that could actually be completed prior to you being on this call with this person? That you also qualify them and at the same time educate them so it's not a complete cold conversation. My belief is that whatever is doing is what's going well, and I believe in continuous learning. How do you demonstrate continuous learning? Is it listening to podcasts because you're always out and about? Is it sitting down and watching videos? Is it YouTubing whilst you're on the cross trainer? I know that very well because that's me. And this is what you want to be more intentional about it, because what a brand is all about, oh, I put that out. A brand is beliefs, behavior together. So when I believe X and I demonstrate it with Y, and I'm consistent with demonstrating this activity, I build my brand. I don't need to say, hey, I'm funny. I just make you laugh. Then people would say, oh yeah, she's really funny. So think about what is the action that supports my belief, because this is how we can bring our brand to life. I encourage thoughtful discussion and approach with an open mind, challenging the way we do things and asking how it might be done better and differently. Asking more questions than trying to having all the answers. This is exactly the kind of leadership style that we need to demonstrate in this world. Now I want to get you started with our 4 quadrants. We are starting in the right bottom corner. I want you to think about your desired outcome, and I'll be quite specific in a second. So this is a right-hand corner, bottom corner. What is your ideal outcome? More specifically, if you would get an email like that. Hey, you, we are thinking about running this workshop, this leadership retreat, putting together this program in your area of expertise that you want to be known for. There's also another couple of facilitators considered. Why should we choose you? And I want you to think about it. What would be your ideal outcome in the next 6 to 12 months that you want to be considered? And also, why should people choose you? So this is the prompt. What's the one thing you'd love to learn, experience, or be trusted with in the next 6 to 12 months? What in this email would make you excited to say, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been waiting for since I started my profession or since I started this role? What is that one thing? And it might be that you are tasked with developing a senior leadership program or an internal mentoring program or an intern program. You know, what is it? And this is also already a good question that you can ask yourself every 6 to 12 months, because I don't believe in 5 years plans anymore, because the world is changing too fast. Even 12 months plans, like at the end of the year, I planned all of my 2025, and let me tell you, it's completely gone the other ways. Let's just put it that way, because the world is changing so fast. And if we're not changing with it, we are falling behind. So 6 to 12 months is a good time frame, because it's long enough to do something and get some results, but it's short enough to be excited about it too and to be measurable. Okay, we've got, I would love to do more consultancy work to enable the businesses to grow through learning initiative. Amazing. Think about it further. What kind of consulting work? What needs to happen? What's the problem that you are solving? When should they say, we need to get Linda in because X? Are you focusing on change? Are you focused on mergers and acquisitions? Are you focused on toxic cultures, for example? What is it that you want to be trusted with, that you want to experience? So it might be my mentor. He is a mentor to ASX 5 companies. He literally takes them to islands in the Maldives for a 3 to 4 day strategic retreat with a sound engineer, with yoga, like you name it, it's luxe. When we talk about luxurious camps, there's this, and then there's that you don't even know exists. Is that something you want to do or not? So there is no right or wrong, but if we don't know where we're going, if we don't have an end goal towards it, we're never going to achieve it. And or we are living somebody else's dream. When they say you need to become the head of learning, you need to have X amount of income when you are a consultant. This is somebody else's idea of success. What is our idea and our definition of success? And as I said, break it down in 6 to 12 months only. And obviously we're talking about a professional development here, but you can also do it from your fitness, from your finances, from your relationships, from your spiritual health. What is it that you want to achieve in the next 6 to 12 months? I'd like to build an internal learning community of SMEs and learning enthusiasts to really facilitate a learning culture. Love it. So this is also when you say, I believe learning needs to be practical. It needs to be connected with roles. It needs to be co-designed. This is how I demonstrate it. And this is what we want to keep in mind for all the other exercises, because setting a goal is one thing. Executing and achieving it, it's another goal. So keep those goals coming. We all want to be inspired by everyone and obviously cheer each other on. And I would also highly recommend everyone to connect with each other on LinkedIn, because we never know. So if you haven't done it yet, I would also throughout the session drop your LinkedIn link in the chat and we can all connect with each other. Gary says, I've had the opportunity to lead a team of learning development and instructional design professionals to solve problems and drive development initiatives across the organization. Beautiful. Like to be trusted and able to feel comfortable to design a learning program. Any is fine. I come from instructional design and don't feel I can take the leap to L&D yet. We probably can challenge that. I actually had a conversation on my podcast with Mohammed Abdul Karim. You probably have never heard his name, but he is behind developing Siri. Like he literally developed Siri and sold it to Apple and was in sessions with Steve Jobs. And he's literally this week on my podcast called The Trusted Authority. Listen to it, because what he says when I ask him, how can you design products for people that you don't know, you don't even know, they don't know you, and yet you are influencing how millions of people are using technology. And he said, this is what we learned in design school. The best designers don't come from the industry. They're able to put themselves in the shoes of the end user, in our case, the participant, and then see, what if I was a participant? What would I like? What would I not like? How would I like the experience? And this is exactly why sometimes a left fielder can actually provide more value, because we don't have the tunnel vision. Connecting two worlds can be a massive benefit when it comes to your brand position. So keep that in mind. I want to run retreats for executive women to learn strategies to optimize their health and performance. Amazing. This is certainly what we all need more of. So keep them coming. I really want everyone to get inspired by and with. Now, the next step. What do I need to be known for in order to achieve the goal? And this is a big one. As I said before, we've done it. In order to achieve a goal, people need to perceive me as the person who can do that. And I always say perception is reality, unfortunately. Whether I perceive something as cheap or expensive, as premium or general, it comes down to how do we position ourselves and then communicate around it. I am a non-smoker. Paying 5 cents for a cigarette would be way too expensive for me. Not because I can't afford it, but because it's not valuable for me. It comes down to, are we aligned in terms of interest, in terms of commitment, in terms of beliefs? Beautiful. Incredible, Gary. Like, keep those goals coming and constantly keep that in mind. I'm trusted for, I'm the go-to for. Like, what is it that, like, quite specifically? Because if you just say, I'm a learning and development professional, I'm a facilitator, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm an advisor, it's like, oh, another one. We can't cut through the noise anymore, because especially over the last 18 months, globally, there have been a ton of redundancies. So a lot of senior professionals are stepping into entrepreneurship, and they are offering facilitation, they're offering workshops, they're offering coaching. It's getting noisier and noisier in the market. So the more specific we can be with the context that we want to play in. It might be mergers and acquisitions. It might be women who have just been promoted to senior roles and help them prevent burnout. These are very specific reasons, and everything else that we are working on as we go follows after that. Okay, so we've got already a few of the what I want to be, what I'm known for, or what I'm trusted for. This is the outcome. Like, if I want to run senior leadership retreats, I need to be known for somebody who knows how to talk to senior executives, how to design workshops that are not boring, how to design outcome-focused exercises. And now I want you to actually do the comparison. So ideally, in your little worksheet, you have 2 columns. One is current, one is future, and you want to compare, what do people think about me right now, and or your own judgment. We often know already where we sit, but in order for us to achieve what we want, what needs to change? And also think about, over the next 7 days, what is this one action that you could do to shift this perception? Because perception is reality. Actions consistently shown build the brand and the reputation around what we actually want to believe, what we want to stand for and what we believe in. So it might be that you are starting to post on LinkedIn. It might be that you are starting to have conversations. Thank you, Judith. That's lovely. What is this one action that you want to take to shift this perception and start continuing doing it? It might be that you want to pitch to your internal teams. You want to run this. What is it that you want to do to shift the perception between what you're currently known for and what you want to be known for, what you need to be known for in order to achieve your goal? It could be, like, I work also with a lot of partners. So they've just been promoted into partner level, usually in professional services firms. And what they need to shift is going from doing the doing to enabling others doing the doing and working on business development, because partners are getting promoted and rewarded for getting business in, not necessarily still keep doing all of their work. Now, this requires an identity shift. So far, over the last 20 or so years, they've been promoted because they're really good at what they're doing. And now they're moving away from that and need to talk about what the practice is doing. And that requires a massive shift. Now, in order for me to work with those professionals, I had to create a lot of content around it and also demonstrate that I understand it, connected it with my story, that I was blindsided, I could progress to a certain level, and then my biggest asset became my biggest baggage. So I could connect logic with emotions, and this is what also creates buy-in. If I say I can teach you horse riding and I've never been on a horse, how credible am I? I could probably Google and ChatGPT everything that I need to know, and yet something is missing. I want to drive a learning strategy or initiative that impacts the business positively and that would also contribute to increase impacted learners' knowledge, performance, overall engagement, and interest with their position. Love it. This is honestly such a great insight, because the more we can connect what we can do to business outcomes, what's in it for others, the more valuable we become. Because obviously we need to start with what we want to know, to achieve, to become. But the closer we can connect it to what's in it for somebody else, the easier it is for us to get it. So this is a good example. Current, I'm defaulting to delivering a lot of live training, regardless of the problem. Future, I'm delivering more performance-focused solutions. 100%, that is a great example, Gavin. In this case, a lot of live training means just get us the training. I don't see you as a strategist. I see you as the executor still, the trainer, rather than zooming out and say, what is the actual problem? We need to do a strategy session on that. It could be, where does the business want to be in 2050 or something like that. 100%. And also start thinking, because this is the next step, what do I need to shift? What perception needs to shift in order for me to get there? Gary says, it's tricky to answer. I know what I think about what I do today. However, my intentions might be perceived differently by others. If I consider my curious asking questions, others might see that as being resistant, which has happened recently. Love that insight, and thanks so much for being honest. Creating a bit of a mirror, because I obviously need to judge myself, but then I also need to ask others and get feedback in to see, oh, this is interesting. I haven't even considered it, that asking questions could come across as resistant. Maybe it comes down to how I'm asking a question. Instead of, how can we do it better? Oh, that's interesting. I'm wondering what it would take. So it's just the tonality might change something. It might also be the context. If I'm asking a question at 4:30 on a Friday afternoon, people are like, whatever you're asking, not interesting, because I want to go and have my my weekend. So just being more reflective on that is already what we need in order to create self-awareness. And this, especially as facilitators, this is what we need to have a lot of. We've got another example. Oh, sorry.
Just because I noticed you missed one of the questions before from Lacey. She's asking, as a career changer, switching industries and roles, what are ways to break this down into smaller steps? It feels like crossing a canyon.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for bringing that up. Yeah, totally missed that question. I would say, I'll just draw quickly here. In the desired outcome, create a bit of a ladder. And this is your ideal big outcome, the career change. But if we're here, we're probably not going straight over there, but we can take actions. So you want to work your way backwards in terms of, what do I need to be known that I can leverage already? So basically focus on transferable skills, because if you want to get into facilitation, but you've always worked in marketing, what are transferable skills, for example, that you would have used already? Getting buy-in from stakeholders, presenting briefs, taking briefs. This is a transferable skill. when I got into recruitment in marketing, I got 16 out of 17 recruitment agencies that we had here in Australia rejections. Everyone said no, because they said, oh, we like you, but you don't have the sales experience and we don't want to teach you. And then the last person said yes. Why? Because I changed my narrative. I said, hi, my name is Petra. By the way, I know what you're thinking. I don't have the sales experience. However, since I was 16, I was or have been a personal trainer and was responsible for getting my own clients. How I'm doing it in recruitment, or how I would approach it in recruitment if I was successful, would be X, Y, and Z. It's about connecting the dots, especially if we've got big jumps. It comes down to storytelling. So your first job is to define what are my transferable skills, especially the soft skills, from problem solving to attention to detail, to being able to meet people where they are. These are all skills that are relevant in the learning and development space. 100%. Michelle also says, don't underestimate those transferable skills. I was slower to progress in L&D because I neglected to bring to life all of the value from a past role could bring. And this is the beauty of the roles that we are in. The more multifaceted we can be these days, the more valuable we become, because we can relate to different people. People are often looking for quick solutions, and when you start asking questions, they find that annoying. Absolutely. So everyone also, if you transition into a more senior role or in a completely different direction, always start with the 10 years gap. So I always say, what did I do between 20 and 30, and then 30 to 40? And listed all of my roles. And it could be volunteer roles. It could be hobbies that I was learning, because that all builds skills. It's not just the education or the experience that we bring. It's also expertise that we develop. It might be that you've got little kids and you are known as the party organizer of 5-year-olds. So you know how to deal with stressful situations. You know how to entertain. You know how to juggle multiple balls. I don't need to have the official paper in the hand to say I'm qualified for this role. I can bring my other experience in, and this is your story, and this is the beauty, that nobody can copy that. Yeah, beautiful. Pamela is also going through that. I'd love to connect because I'm a situation. Beautiful. Now, to everyone who is transitioning, good news. We all have to not only change our jobs more often, but entire careers. There's a study that shows that Gen Z, so probably the next generation after us, and then Gen Alpha, have on average 5 to 6 different careers, and in those 5 to 6 careers, 18 plus different jobs. So if you think you're doing whatever you're doing in another 2 years from now, it's probably not going to be the case anyway. So the more you can focus on transferable skills, and also very important to focus on the strengths. What is it already that you're naturally good at and you enjoy doing it? You become naturally better at it. I'm, for example, attention to detail, not my strength. I hate looking at spreadsheets. I hate proofreading. I don't like it, but I've got a big picture. Like, I constantly develop new material. I constantly have new thought leadership. And this is my strength. Initially, it was seen as being flaky because I was constantly onto something else because I was bored. But now I can leverage it to my strengths. Beautiful. Everyone is happy to connect here. As I said, please connect also on LinkedIn and stay in touch, because the power of community and connections, and say, hey, I'm going through this challenge. How would you do it? Or how have you gone through it? It just can fast track your own experience here beautifully. Okay, guys, let's move on to our next little exercise, because as we said before, I want to shift your mindset in terms of not just the expert who knows a lot, who is really good at what they're doing, but become the trusted authority. So we get a little bit more practical now. There are 3 components to it. And what we've just worked on is the capability, meaning what can I actually bring to the table? What do I want to be known for? But there's 2 other components, which we cover in a second. Credibility. And there are 3 ways how you can build credibility. You will also find it in your Notion website. I'll put that back in if anyone has not had the opportunity. So it's basically the show notes from tonight or today. There are 3 ways how we can build credibility, and lastly, we build visibility. Because what I often see with learning and development professionals, but to be honest, with every other category too, is they're focusing too much on the deliverable. Or we get 7 hours of content, we do 13 sessions, we do blah blah. It's not the point. A senior executive, a CEO, a board member, a client, they are looking for what is the performance of that. And this is why I want you to think, whatever you said before that you want to be known for, how can you turn it and connect it into a business priority? And it could be for businesses that you're working at the moment or that you want to work eventually. So it might be hospitality have always a horrible problem with retention. Maybe you want to specialize in retention. It might be capability, because we're all hiring juniors because we don't have the money necessarily, and we are the conduit between getting them ready to become seniors. Whatever that might be, connect the dots. And actually, if we can put a couple of ideas, what that might be, what you want to focus on in the chat, that would be amazing, because the next step is building on top of that. What is your specialization focused on? What is the benefit of getting you in? So if you think back on the email where we have to justify why we are the right person for our dream project, how could we connect the dots and make it relevant to this decision maker? Do we have any ideas? Onboarding programs. What would be the connection here? Why are onboarding programs important for our business? Because I work currently with a business, very toxic culture, and we literally also said learning programs and so forth, and they said waste of money. We don't have that. So we need to connect the dots and make it relevant to them. Building a learning culture leads to higher engagement and retention. Absolutely. And also connected with what's happening right now with AI. If we don't learn, if we don't develop, if we don't evolve, we're not going to be around for much longer. There is a study that by 2030, which is only 5 years away, 60 or 70% of S&P 500 companies won't be here anymore. And that comes down to not being able to innovate. So if we don't have a learning culture and we get people to ask questions and to do things differently, we are in this bucket too. And this is why we want to always connect it with those outcomes. Knowledge transfer, ensuring soft skills stick. Beautiful. Also risk management. If somebody gets hit by a bus tomorrow or somebody retires, do we have a succession plan? Can we pass on the information? I help uncover the metrics they care about, then design the solution. So it's very evidence and data driven or data informed. Intentional, thoughtful communication leads to better collaboration, faster completion. Beautiful. So we get the gist. And now this is probably your homework, because I'm mindful of time. As I said before, there are 3 components to become the trusted authority. After we have developed and clarified our capability, what we want to stand for, and how it's relevant to our decision maker, we now need to be credible that we are the right person for it. And there are 3 ways how we can become more credible. And I call them the 3 O's. So it's your own, which we cover in a second. Others, where you leverage people who are already established in that field or even institutions. It's called brand by association. And the last one is on the go. I've never done it, but I'll bring you on the journey. It might be in your case, you've never facilitated a workshop and now you are facilitating the first workshop and you let people come and join you. You've got a time lapse and this is what you then post on social media. And you let people in and you literally say, my first workshop ever, my first virtual facilitation, my first whatever it might be. People want to be part of everyone's journey. It's a lot more fun than just seeing the end result and say, hey, I'm qualified now. It's like, oh, whatever. People want to see the struggles and experience what you experience. But in our case, what I want you to think about is your own credibility, because whether you are internal or external, this one thing sets you apart, and this one thing is your framework. I always say frameworks frame your work, but it also allows enough flexibility to adjust it to different audiences. Think about the biggest names in their field. It might be a Simon Sinek. It might be the 7 Habits of Successful People. These experts who used to do the work, like Simon Sinek, he was a management consultant for small to medium-sized businesses until he discovered what makes some leaders more purposeful and more successful. And it came down to understanding their why. And he decoded it. The whole start with why is not original, but he just explained it in a way that resonated with people. And he was the first who did it in a TED Talk. You don't need to be the first to create a signature framework. And in your case, it's about creating this connection between where people are to where they can be after engaging with you. So for example, my brand promise is you go from expert, knowing a lot, to become the go-to with my trusted authority framework, which is this one. But I also have, for example, a positioning framework, which is this one. And these are frameworks that we've developed for clients. It doesn't matter what it looks like, but what you want to think about is how can I take people from where they are, low retention, no growth, toxic cultures, whatever it might be, to here, which is the end outcome. Highly engaged people, minimized attrition. What are the steps to get there? And in which order do I need to take it? Is it more of an ongoing process? Is it a step by step? Is it a list? What is the way for me to give this transformation? And as we said before, nowadays people are more conscious on getting BS'd, meaning everyone is promising everything, but hardly anyone can show it. So the more visual you can be, the more you can build trust, because you now can use a visual and take people through your approach. To say in months 1, we're focusing on X in your framework. Months 2 to 6 is all about that. And then 6 to 12, we're doing Y. So it makes it more transparent, and also you become more credible. I often get asked the questions, do I need to come up with something that's never been there before? And the answer is no. You can use existing frameworks like an Eisenhower matrix, like a 2x2 matrix, and put it into your toolkit for each of the steps in your framework. You can use personality tests. So for example, in my personal brand program, we do an Enneagram and a brand archetype test. Did I develop it? No, because I'm not a psychologist, but I collate the tests together and curate the resources required to get to this outcome. Where do you start with building a framework like that? I literally, not even 12 hours from now, run another workshop, a free workshop on exactly that topic. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, I can also send you the link for that. Because signature frameworks are 100% the one thing that sets you apart. Because all of a sudden you are shifting from I'm using Start with Why from Simon Sinek to I'm using my proprietary signature framework that I've developed and used and tested on others. And you are not just one of many trainers who can deliver somebody else's program. You are the only one who can deliver your program. How do you balance the focus on each module part of the framework with the individual or bespoke needs? Now, this is the beauty with a framework. With you guys, I literally cover at the moment, oopsie, only this part very superficially. I can extend it to a 6-month program if I want to. I can do it in a full day workshop. A framework is flexible, similar to a signature talk, because what you do with your framework, you then turn it into marketing assets from the 3 signature topics that you want to talk about, that you can pitch yourself to podcasts, to conferences, like learning and development conferences, to speak about. What it is, it allows you to go deep on one aspect. So in our case, it's only personal branding. I could talk about commercialization, like how can you actually make money with the signature framework and so forth, for another 3 hours. So depending on who the audience is and what the ideal outcome is and how much time we've got, this is how deep or how wide you go.
Petra, I think there was
Okay.
another question in case
Sorry.
you have chance.
Yes, please.
Answers. Can you talk more about on the go credibility? There is so much noise of promo posting. Any tips on how to do this in a respectful and interesting way?
Yes, 100%. Because I could say, hey, look at me. I deliver a workshop. I'm so important. Nobody's interested. Or I can say, I literally for the first time tried GoodNotes, which we discussed before, Pamela, and it's like, I can draw and I could do this, and this is how I prepare my slides. So it's more I let people in a storytelling way what I'm doing, rather than saying, I'm so good, this is why I'm doing it. Or when you say, one of the things that I've always used is cards like that. So I'm just writing my cards and you do a time lapse. I honestly love to do time lapse because you cannot actually see anything. So if you write really quickly or have post-it notes on your notepads and so forth, nobody can actually see what you're writing. And that's the beauty. So you can even fake it and record yourself to put together a framework and say, one thing that I always get excited about preparing for a full day strategy day is blah. Nobody can copy that. And it's not a promotion to say, I'm so good. It's more, what can you share that's also interesting for others? Or to say, I always have, what could I say? Notion as my show notes. So I can demonstrate what I'm doing without sharing those show notes with anyone else. These are small things that we can say on the go. So the more, also think of influencers that you're following, the more I can see how they apply their makeup, the more interested I am in their makeup products. I don't just want to see the perfect face, because then I'm thinking I can never replicate that anyway. But when they're showing me the steps and the products, this is what sparks interest. And the same is with you. When you say, even virtual deliveries, I just present with cards. And currently writing the last couple for a session that I've got next week. This is the kind of teasing that doesn't come across as self-promotional. So hopefully that helped a little bit. But yeah, to be honest, on the go is one of the best ways. When a friend of mine, she is hiking the Mount Everest in November. And she takes people on the journey, like she has never hiked in her life before. And she says, well, I've got these shoes now. This is the training that I'm doing. I'm trusting her more, even though she's not the expert in hiking, because she's taking me on the journey. So I'm interested in how she's doing it. And the same can be applied to a professional setting. I want to step into a board director role, and this is how I'm doing it. I'm applying here, I'm pitching there. Also, when I'm not successful, when people know what you actually want, they're more likely to help you. Beautiful. Oh, excellent. I'm glad, guys. Okay. As I said, I've put it also in the show notes, because this is what you want to start thinking about when you develop your own framework. So what is an issue that you constantly get asked or you want to be known for? Like for me, personal branding, I can talk for the next 6 years on the topic. It's something that's interesting to me. It's also a problem. Then connected with the business risk. So if we don't do anything about this, the attrition, the growth, the innovation, what is the risk in it? This is also then the teachable and the valuable part. And then what are the 3 to 5 steps that you would and have always taken to take people from here to not having this issue? And then the last bit is the marketing of it. I always say it's the bow on the present. This is where we package it, name it, and you own it. What they're saying is claim it and name it, claim it. So once you've got trusted authority, which is now a trademark, if anyone would use it in commercial settings, I could sue them. So nobody is allowed to use that. You don't have to necessarily go that far, but similar to, say, word bubbles, like sound bites. I often say new levels, new devils. And people repeat that because it's a rhythm that can be easily remembered. And the more sound bites you have in your own delivery, the more people can repeat you and quote you, the more they think about it, and the more your content resonates with them. The 3 O's, on, others, on the go, didn't happen by accident. I knew that 3 O's was easy to remember. Or with impact, my company has 3 C's because it's clarify, communicate, commercialize. After people have always asked me what, when I asked them, what do you want to do next? And they just said, I don't know, but I want to make an impact. And I said, I don't even know what that means. For a 25-year-old, it's earning $60,000. For a 65-year-old, it's leaving a legacy. But if you can clarify what it actually is that you want and why you, then you can communicate it and then you can commercialize it. So it's how can you find a story and an easy to remember word for your framework that can live beyond you, that could become a signature keynote, a book, a course, whatever it might be. And you own this. Okay, the last part, we've got about 5 or so minutes, so please keep going with the questions, put them in the chat. We need to take actions. As I said before, just knowing it all and doing nothing, waste of time. And this is where we need to take action. So what do I need to do? And this is what we put into our top right corner. And to make it easier, I put the sphere of influence diagram in there, which shows us what do I need to do and focus on depending on what kind of exposure I want to have. I may not want to impact the industry straight away, but I may want to influence my other departments in my organization. What do I need to do in order for me to be seen as the person who gets what they set out to get? And to make it super easy, I also put together always a 2x2 matrix. And this is what I want you to start thinking about it. In the top right corner, what are activities that you can do offline and internal? So that would be a team activity. You could host a lunch and learn session. You could attend a meetup event. You could go to a conference. You could enroll in Toastmasters, whatever it might be. Then we've got the same thing with offline and external. So this is anything outside your usually company and or industry. So sometimes, especially for those who are running their own business, internal is not a thing because we're usually 1 or 3 people. It's more about externally, how can I expand my network beyond my industry that I can get my clients? Because often we get stuck because we're building a peer network and not a decision maker network. If everyone is at my same level and nobody can open doors or make things happen, give me budget for a project, unfortunately, we're not going further. And then lastly, what can we do internally and or externally, but online? So it might be internally that you've got a Slack channel and you are starting your own Slack channel with 1% better every day, and ask everyone to share what podcast did they listen to, what book are they currently reading, what YouTube video did they watch, and what's the takeout. So that's something that you could initiate for people to be more proactive with creating a learning culture. Or you say, I want to share and build my profile, so I want to share what I'm doing externally. LinkedIn is the best platform for that. I share once a week a post. So this is where we are now getting a bit active, and I want you to put one activity in each of the quadrants. I just put a couple of ideas in there, what it might be. And I want you to complete your worksheet in the right top corner with one activity in each of the quadrants. And maybe if anyone would be happy to share a few ideas that everyone else gets also inspired with what we can do, that would be great. It might be that you want to pitch yourself to 10 podcasts on learning and development on a certain topic, or that you want to write for an industry publication on a certain topic. It might be that you want to write a LinkedIn post and maybe it gets picked up by LinkedIn News because it's tapping into a recent topic. Have you got any ideas what everyone wants to do in the next 30 days? I'll give you a little bit more time on that it's not 7 days, but 30 days. What is one activity in each of the quadrants that you can do? And by the way, from a facilitation perspective, 2x2s, those kind of 2x2s is perfect for anything. It is perfect. And it's easy to facilitate too. Okay, have you got any activities that we can share? Still thinking about posts that I can create that are interesting to others, sharing my projects as I learn, introvert, and it's scary for me. Thinking. Oh, welcome to my world. I'm the massive introvert and nobody believes me that. But I'm not going to speak after the next 12 hours after I've got so many sessions with anyone for the next 3 days. And this is the beauty with LinkedIn. We don't necessarily have to talk, but we can still share. Having time lapses, it's a video, but you don't have to talk. Win-win. Yes, exactly. The next L&D shakers. Even, over the last 5 weeks, I've attended incredible sessions. The biggest takeaways were 1 takeaway, 2 takeaways. Tag people to also get exposure to their network, because that's the beauty of LinkedIn. In a second, I get tagged, for example, all of my network sees that, and it's 25,000 people at the moment, which is great. Writing on LinkedIn more about the time I'm talking to find a new L&D role that fits my values. Absolutely. If we don't share our values, nobody can pick up on it. And if we don't put a stand in the ground, we just get whatever people think and assume with us. And this is perception. The good thing is we can shape perception by the behaviors that we are demonstrating. And in this case, it's a LinkedIn post where we can actually talk about it. Offline external apply for a learning and development role with a letter will be an email. Does that count? It does count. Challenge for you. Why not do a 30 to 60 seconds Loom video and add more personality as to why you are the perfect facilitator for that? What we also want to do is we want to pattern interrupt. Everyone applies the same way, says the same thing more or less, provides a similar experience. What can we do differently? A video is a great way to show our personality. It might be sharing on LinkedIn that you just applied for the role at company and you tag the company that somebody gets notified. Find more impact measures to prove that L&D brings value to the business. Love that, Linda, because also with marketing and learning and development are usually the 2 departments or functions that get cut the quickest because they're seen as cost centers, even marketing, and not profit centers. So the more we can shift the perception that we have with the profession, with our decision makers, the easier it is for them to say yes to us. Intern and online, request feedback from people I've worked with, asking what do you think of me and the work that I do. I would make it more specific, Gary, that you get really good feedback. If you had to describe me in 3 words or less, what would it be? Or if I was a car, what would I be and why? Because with this question, it takes away the personal feedback. You would be a Land Cruiser, super reliable, goes forever, because we're not as afraid of getting the wrong kind of feedback. Beautiful. Yes, please feel free to drop all the links in there. We've got like 3 minutes, which is why the last part that I want you to do, and as I said, there are all the show notes in the Notion template. What is it that you have to learn? If you have never facilitated a workshop, what skill do you need to learn? And this is what we put in our last category. In the top quadrant on the left, what do I need to learn? It may be I need to learn how to do a video. I need to learn how to facilitate with cards. I need to learn how to, you name it. What are the skills that are required for you to take the actions that's required to show, to be known for what you want to be known, to achieve your goal? So we're all coming back in full circle. And I would honestly recommend you to do these kind of exercises every 6 to 12 months. As you know better than most, learning is not a one-off process. The same with personal branding. You shift, your beliefs, your values are shifting because you're moving into different stages of your own lives. If we were still pursuing what we wanted to do in our teens and 20s, we're probably not going to be very happy. So what are a couple of skills before we are wrapping up to make sure we are on time? Have you got a couple of skills that people would be confident and comfortable to share as a bit of an inspiration for us? It could be things like storytelling. How can I include more stories in my training? It could be writing persuasively on LinkedIn, and that's a skill by itself. Having a good, well-performing post is not just because of the algorithm, it's also how we actually structure it and how we write it. Have we got a couple of skills that we can share? Beautiful. Networking with decision makers. I give you one little example also with the actions, which I did. I was in recruitment and I was just interested in personal branding. And back then, that's 14 years ago, nobody did personal branding as such. However, there were a few that had personal branding somehow in their LinkedIn bio or wherever. I invited them to be a guest speaker for my team back in recruitment, and I literally took notes. Then I started asking questions when I had those sessions. Then I started co-facilitating, and eventually I took over. So it could be the step-by-step process. You don't need to go straight into facilitating a full day on the topic. It may be that you are hosting a panel and you're asking questions and you're learning that way. It may be that you simply write down what they are saying and how to explain it and pay attention to that. Beautiful. No worries at all. Okay, the last ones that I want you to think about, if you can put it in the chat, is what's your 2-word takeaway from today? Meaning 1 word, 1 takeaway, and 1 action that you want to take in the next 7 days. So very immediate. Creating a framework about what I already do, share more about how I learn step by step about self-leadership. Love it. Skill, intercultural competence, action, network across borders. Refined frameworks. Love it. Explore my skills, write about it. Finding my niche and how to show it to others. Self-work. Beautiful. Framework connects. Amazing. Anyone who wants to jump onto this, also a free workshop on how to build your framework, send me a connection request on LinkedIn. I will share the link. It literally is at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning for my time, and 6 p.m. Today for me. So it's in a few hours. Reflect, go through the quadrants and complete them. Self-learning, inspiration. I want to read the Notion and complete the exercises. Amazing. Honestly, guys, we are right on time, 1 minute over. Pamela, I'll hand over to you and I'll see it. Thanks so much for everyone being so engaged. And I cannot wait to see everyone's personal brand come to life.
Yeah, I agree with all the comments. Super valuable session, Petra. So much to think about. Thank you so much. And for everyone that joins, you will receive a link. So please share your feedback with us. And yeah, take a look at what's left for the Career Leap program. And yeah, if you're not part of the community yet, join the LinkedIn group, and later you can access the Slack channel. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you soon and stay connected. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.